24 years ago, a 19-year-old girl in Mesa Springs, Arizona, vanished on a sweltering summer night, disappearing without a trace, leaving her family shattered and the community gripped by fear. Authorities suspected several close associates from her ex-boyfriend to co-workers, but found neither her body nor the red pickup truck she drove that night, causing the investigation to quickly stall. Yet for 2 long decades, her parents clung desperately to the faint hope that justice would one day be served, keeping her room and porch light unchanged as a silent vigil. Then one morning, an unexpected discovery from the bottom of a dry canal changed everything, revealing a crucial detail that had previously been overlooked. That detail would reopen the entire case and shake the Mesa Springs community in a way no one could have imagined. Before diving into the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest cases. In the summer of 2001, the town of Mesa Springs sat in the scorching Arizona desert where asphalt roads seemed to melt under the blistering sun and residents sought relief by the river, irrigation canals, or man-made lakes to escape the relentless heat. In that arid landscape, Sofia Hernandez, a 19-year-old, the youngest child of a Mexican immigrant family, had just graduated high school and dreamed of becoming a nurse. She was often remembered by friends and neighbors for her radiant smile and gentle nature. On the night of July 12, Sofia slipped into a simple summer dress to attend a classmate's birthday party where golden lights spilled from a garage and lively Latin music echoed through the neighborhood, drawing even local kids to clap along outside the fence. Near midnight, Sofia left the party, declining invitations to stay longer, and hurried to the red pickup truck borrowed from her cousin, promising to head straight home before her parents worried. At their small house on a dirt road, Carmen, her mother, sat leaning back in the living room chair, eyes fixed on the window, waiting for the familiar sound of her daughter's truck, while Miguel, her father, had dozed off, but left the porch light on, a quiet signal that someone was waiting. But as the clock ticked past midnight and into the early hours, the front yard remained silent. The porch light alone beacon in the desert night. When the red sun rose over the distant mountains, Carmen frantically woke her husband and within minutes they called the county police to report their daughter missing. From that moment, a nightmare descended over Mesa Springs. That was the last time anyone saw Sofia Hernandez alive. Upon receiving the report, the Navajo County Sheriff's Office launched an unprecedented search in Mesa Springs' history, deploying helicopters to sweep the skies, sent tracking dogs along the canals, and rescued divers into the deep remaining desert lakes. The Arizona desert in July was harsher than ever. Cracked earth formed grayish ruts, sparse weeds wilted under the searing wind, and cacti thrust sharp spines in all directions as if warning people to stay away. The irrigation canals snaking through the town, some holding murky green water with a muddy stench, were scoured inch by divers and police. Along dry ditches, searchers walked in rows spaced a few meters apart, bending low to inspect every footprint, scrap of fabric or strange mark in the sand. Hundreds of volunteers and neighbors left their daily routines to join. From burly young men to middle-aged mothers, handing out cold water to the search team. Posters with Sofia's picture and bold red missing text plastered Mesa Springs on grocery store windows, utility poles, church bulletin boards, and even gas stations along the highway. People said Mesa Springs had never been so united, but also never so afraid, realizing a young woman could vanish without a trace in their small community. During the search, police found a white women's sandal abandoned near a canal's edge about half a mile from where Sofia might have passed. Nearby, a faint tire mark was etched in the dry ground as if someone had stopped and turned around, but desert winds and searchers' footsteps blurred many details. Still, those scant clues prompted investigators to focus on the area. The Hernandez family, nearly broken but clinging to faint hope, persisted. Carmen walked through desert thorn bushes, calling her daughter's name while wiping away tears, while Miguel, trembling, held a flashlight close to every rock crevice, searching for any sign, even a tiny scrap of cloth. The image of the aging couple quietly searching for their daughter moved many volunteers to tears. Arizona media covered the story extensively from local channels to major Phoenix papers with headlines like Mesa Springs student vanishes mysteriously and Sofia's brown eyes dominating front pages. TV cameras captured hundreds of people lined up across the desert, combing every meter of land as if piecing together a torn map. Despite their efforts, after a week, The results were zero. No body, no truck, no explanation for Sofia's disappearance. Mesa Springs, once peaceful and sleepy, sank into collective anxiety, and Sofia Hernandez's name began haunting the town's dreams. The urgent initial search quickly turned into a stalled investigation. Police focused on Sofia's closest relationships, starting with her ex-boyfriend, Carlos Ramirez, a 20-year-old who attended high school with her. Locals recounted a heated argument between them outside a grocery store weeks before her disappearance, loud enough for neighbors to intervene. Carlos was questioned multiple times, spending hours in a cold, white interrogation room, facing relentless questions about the night Sofia vanished. But he had an alibi. He was working the late shift at a gas station and security footage showed him behind the counter at the time Sofia left the party. Another lead pointed to a co-worker at the grocery store where Sofia worked part-time. Town rumors suggested an older employee had shown excessive interest in her, often prying into personal matters, but he claimed to be home with family that night, and no evidence linked him. Police even questioned Hernandez's family relatives, including those who lent Sofia the red pickup. Could someone in the family be involved, but every lead hit a dead end? Party witnesses offered no clarity. Most admitted to being drunk or distracted by dancing, unable to pinpoint when Sofia left. Some said 11 p.m., others near midnight, and one even claimed to have seen her in the parking lot talking to someone, but couldn't recall a face. Conflicting testimonies left police lost in a maze of contradictions. Meanwhile, the red pickup, the most critical physical clue, vanished entirely. No gas station reported seeing it. No traffic camera caught it, leaving Mesa Springs. The vast desert roads and windswept sands erased all traces as if the truck and girl had evaporated. 6 months later, investigators were exhausted. Search funding dwindled, rescue teams withdrew, and the case was officially shelved, stamped unsolved coldly. Faded, torn posters on poles were replaced by ads for plumbing or real estate. Only a few relatives and loyal friends kept searching, driving dusty roads on weekends, hoping for a chance clue. The Hernandez family kept Sofia's memory alive, holding prayer vigils every July 12th. They lit candles outside the small-town church, placing Sofia's portrait on a wooden table, praying silently amid the pitying gazes of attendees. Each year, fewer people came, but Sofia's parents persisted as if the ritual ensured she wouldn't be forgotten. Mesa Springs slowly adjusted to the silence. Other news, droughts, highway accidents, mayoral elections filled the void Sofia's story left. But on stifling evenings passing the Hernandez house, everyone saw the porch light still burning as it had in 2001. And Sofia Hernandez's name lingered like a ghost, haunting a community that thought itself peaceful. In 2005, 4 years after Sofia's disappearance, her parents appeared on a Flagstaff evening news program. Facing the camera, Carmen clutched her trembling hands, her voice breaking as she begged viewers not to let her daughter be forgotten. Miguel, usually stoic, couldn't hide his exhaustion as he recounted details of that final night. "If anyone knows anything, even a tiny piece of the truth, please tell us," he pleaded, silencing the studio. The broadcast spread across Arizona, prompting some tip calls, but all led nowhere. Police kept the file open, but didn't expand the investigation. By 2010, the Hernandez's small Mesa Springs home remained frozen in time from that fateful night. Sofia's bedroom was untouched, neatly folded bedding, a brown leather diary on her desk filled with dreams of nursing school, and a closet full of summer dresses she wore on walks with friends. Carmen dusted each book, rearranged every stuffed animal as if Sofia might walk in, smile, and say, "Mom, I'm home." Visitors fell silent in that room, its vivid reality weighed down by the owner's absence. In 2015, faint hopes flickered when someone reported seeing a girl resembling Sofia in Tucson, and another claimed to spot her in Phoenix. Local media covered it. Police compared photos and interviewed, but all were mistakes. Those women in their 20s with similar builds and hair weren't Sofia. Each such report threw her parents into a cycle of hope and despair, eroding their mental health. By 2020, time had etched deep lines on their faces. Miguel's hair was white, his steps slow. Carmen sat for hours in an armchair, staring out the window, her eyes clouded. They had nearly lost hope, only sustaining annual vigils. For them, each vigil fought oblivion, but also admitted their daughter might never return. That year, Arizona police officially labeled Sofia Hernandez's case a cold case, filed away to be reopened, only with new evidence. The thick file gathered dust in storage, marking the end of nearly 2 decades of effort. Mesa Springs grew accustomed to the silence. But in coffee shops and church meetings, Sofia's name was whispered as a shared obsession. Children born after 2001 grew up with her story as a chilling town legend, while adults stayed silent, knowing it wasn't a ghost tale, but a painful, unresolved truth. In March 2022, a rare heavy rain hit Mesa Springs. Arizona's desert, typically parched, saw fleeting showers, leaving a musky earth scent in the cracked sands. But that year's rain lasted 2 days, pouring furiously, flooding, and then draining the town's old irrigation canals. On the third morning, a local farmer, Sofia Martinez, drove his pickup to check the canals for water levels and erosion. At a bend 3 miles from Mesa Springs, he stopped, spotting a metal object protruding from thick black mud. Thinking it was an old plow part, he approached, wiped the mud with his sleeve, and froze. It was the rusted front of a car, faded red paint still clinging to peeling metal. In a flash, his mind recalled the name haunting Mesa Springs for 20 years. Sofia Hernandez. Hands shaking, he called the county sheriff. Within an hour, the area was cordoned off with yellow tape. Police cars lined the dirt road, their flashing lights reflecting on muddy surfaces. Townsfolk gathered behind temporary barriers, whispering. A salvage team brought cranes and chains, slowly lifting the pickup from the mud. The metal screeched chillingly as the warped frame emerged from black water, revealing its full form. Everyone held their breath as if time stood still. When the door was pried open, the sight inside forced many witnesses to turn away. A human skeleton sat folded in the driver's seat. Bones disjointed after 2 decades of decay in water. Strands of long black hair clung to the headrest, fluttering in the breeze. On the floor, forensic officers carefully retrieved a moldy leather wallet with soggy documents. Dried and examined under light. The name was clear. Sofia Hernandez. A special meeting room was set up at Phoenix headquarters with a whiteboard boldly labeled Hernandez case. Mesa Springs 2001. This was no longer just a missing person case, but a test of the entire investigative system. A chance to right past wrongs. Leading the cold case team was Detective Ana Rodriguez, a Hispanic woman in her 40s, renowned for her relentless patience and sharp intuition that had unraveled many seemingly hopeless cases. Growing up in Tucson's poor neighborhoods, Ana understood the fragility of justice when violence in immigrant communities was ignored or forgotten. That drove her into law enforcement. And after nearly 2 decades, she was one of Arizona's most respected investigators. Ana's team included seasoned experts from various fields. Beside her was Paul Mitchell, a veteran investigator of over 30 years, known for a memory so sharp he could recall the color of a witness's shirt from 15 years prior. The team also had Dr. Linda Chen, a forensic scientist overseeing the examination of remains and evidence. Jake Thompson, a next-generation DNA technician, linking data to national databases, and young officers trained in analyzing old files, tasked with reviewing thousands of archived pages. At their first meeting, Ana stood before the group, hand on the thick case file. "We're not just finding who killed Sofia Hernandez," she said slowly, her gaze sweeping the room. "We're answering for Mesa Springs, why justice was buried for 21 years." Her words echoed in the silent room, a silent oath for the team. They began by revisiting the entire 2001 file. Yellowed reports, handwritten notes from officers back then, were spread across the table. Paul Mitchell meticulously read party witness statements, noting discrepancies in Sofia's departure time. Linda Chen retested preserved evidence. White sandal hair from Sofia's brush, a dirt-stained fabric scrap using modern technology. Jake Thompson linked to CODIS and new genealogical databases non-existent in 2001, checking for unexpected DNA matches. Throughout, Ana took detailed notes, her eyes fixed on Sofia's photo on the whiteboard's corner. She knew cold cases rarely succeeded, but believed every detail could be the key. She focused on the pickup report. In 2001, police assumed Sofia left town with someone, prioritizing highways over thoroughly searching local canals. That decision now stood out as a critical error. The team also reviewed past suspects, Carlos Ramirez, the ex-boyfriend, the grocery store co-worker, even relatives. Anna pushed further. Look at those not suspected then. Who joined the search? Who was closest to the family? She knew killers sometimes hid in plain sight, feigning devotion to mask guilt. Work stretched late into the night. Stacks of files piled up, pages rustling under fluorescent lights. Outside, Phoenix buzzed, but the room held tense silence. At 10 p.m., Anna ended the meeting with a curt, "We cannot fail. Not just for Sofia, but for every cold case awaiting justice." Driving to her small apartment that night, Anna couldn't stop thinking of the Hernandez parents' eyes on TV when they got the news. Shattered yet hopeful, waiting over 20 years for truth. She knew the road ahead was long and tough. But Sofia Hernandez would no longer be forgotten in silence. In late March 2022, the canal where Sofia's red pickup was found was cordoned with temporary fences and tarps. Under Detective Ana Rodriguez's lead, the cold case team and forensics experts set up white tents on the bank, turning the quiet area into a bustling scene of police cars, cameras, floodlights, and equipment. Mesa Springs residents gathered from early morning behind barriers, their eyes tense as if witnessing truth unearthed. The forensics team worked patiently, each shovel of mud, each slow-motion frame recorded. After the truck was fully raised, they scoured the remaining canal mud. Soon, a worker bent down, carefully lifting a stained brown fabric scrap. Under UV light, the stains revealed dried blood soaked into the fibers, possibly Sofia's clothing, or worse, someone else's present in the truck. Before discussion could start, another shout came from the bank. Found something. A delicate silver necklace, rusted green, was tangled in exposed tree roots. Its chain was broken, but a heart-shaped pendant engraved with an S was visible under the mud. Carmen had mentioned her daughter always wore such a necklace. This find thickened the air in the forensics tent, confirming Sofia's presence in the truck and hinting at a violent struggle that fateful night. As new evidence was logged, Anna ordered a review of 2001 accident reports. Old yellowed pages with a duty officer's handwritten note read, "Possible loss of control. Vehicle slid into canal." But when engineers examined the hardened bank's marks, they found anomalies. The skid wasn't smooth and continuous as expected in an uncontrolled crash, but jagged and abrupt. It suggested external force pushed the truck off the road into the canal. Anna's brow furrowed. Her gut screamed. This wasn't an accident. Questions flooded everyone's minds. If Sofia merely lost control, why was there blood-stained fabric outside the truck? Why was the necklace broken? And above all, if the truck crashed into the canal in 2001, why did no one hear or see it? Mesa Springs was small, the canal near farms and roads. That summer night was hot. Many stayed up late on porches. No witness reported hearing a vehicle plunge into water. That silence now became the most suspicious detail. At a field meeting, Anna spread a map marking Sofia's route from the party to home in red. The familiar road took 10 minutes. The canal lay off a side path, not on her direct route. She had no reason to go this way, Anna said firmly. The team nodded. Two possibilities emerged. Sofia was forced to detour or someone else drove. That afternoon, as the sun gilded the desert sky, the forensics team sealed evidence in bags, their eyes carrying renewed conviction. For 21 years, the case was a mystery without answers. But now, tiny details, a blood stain, a necklace, a skid mark, paved a path to truth. In her heart, Ana Rodriguez knew Sofia Hernandez's case had crossed from oblivion into a true hunt for justice. 4 weeks after the red pickup's recovery, Arizona's state forensics lab worked tirelessly. Bones from the driver's seat underwent advanced genetic testing. Every fragment handled with care. The results, unsurprising yet silencing, confirmed the remains' DNA matched Sofia's hair and personal items provided by the Hernandez family. It was Sofia Hernandez, the girl lost in 2001. This closed 21 years of uncertain waiting, but opened a colder door to truth. As scientists analyzed the scene, a surprise emerged. Besides Sofia's DNA, the truck's floor and passenger seat held traces of a man's blood. The sample was small, just faint stains on the carpet, but enough for a complete genetic profile. Detective Ana Rodriguez watched the process, heart racing. She knew in cold cases, DNA was the voice of the dead, and a single drop could point to the killer. When the sample was entered into CODIS, the national DNA database, tension gripped the room. The computer scanned, numbers flashing, comparing gene sequences. Then the screen blinked with a match. The name stunned everyone. Marcus Thompson. Thompson was a former neighbor of the Hernandez family living a few houses away in 2001. Then in his mid-20s, he worked as a mechanic at a local garage. Records showed his DNA was collected after a minor 2009 brawl. And that sample now matched the blood in Sofia's truck perfectly. Ana read the name again, voice steady but firm. Marcus Thompson. He was in that truck that night. The truth grew chilling as the team reviewed 2001 photos and records. In images from Sofia's community prayer vigils, Marcus Thompson's face appeared clearly standing beside her parents holding a candle. His expression somber as if sharing their grief. Thompson had even volunteered in the early search, scouring fields, urging others not to give up. To neighbors, he was among the kindest, dedicating time and effort to the Hernandez family. No one could have suspected the DNA buried in the truck for 2 decades would betray him. Ana sat silently in the meeting room for a long time, staring at the photo of a young Thompson holding a candle. She recalled her own words from the first meeting. Sometimes the killer hides in the crowd, feigning devotion to mask their guilt. Now, every sign pointed to exactly that scenario. But to charge Thompson, the team needed more than a DNA match. They had to prove he was in the truck with motive and opportunity. Young investigators dug through 2001 interview records, combing every page. One witness vaguely recalled seeing Sofia talking to a man near the parking lot, but couldn't remember his face. Now Ana reconstructed the timeline, placing Thompson's name in that gap. If Sofia met Thompson after the party, his presence in the truck made sense. His blood, though minimal, suggested a struggle or injury inside the vehicle. When the findings were shared internally, the team sat in silence. Paul Mitchell, the veteran investigator, set an unlit cigarette on the table, shaking his head. 21 years and he lived right in town, went to church, shook hands with neighbors, dined at the same diner the Hernandez family frequented. Everyone saw him as an upstanding citizen. Linda Chen, the forensic expert, replied softly. DNA doesn't lie. The news hadn't yet been released to the public, but Ana knew that day was near. She looked at Sofia's photo on the whiteboard, her 19-year-old smile frozen forever, and whispered, "We've heard your voice, Sofia, and now justice begins." Marcus Thompson, born in 1975, grew up in Mesa Springs in a hard-working, multi-generational local family. In 2001, when Sofia Hernandez vanished, he was 26, working as a mechanic at a small garage off the highway out of town. Thompson was known for his skill fixing anything from tractors to pickups, often waiving fees for struggling neighbors. To the community back then, he was Mesa Springs' good guy. A strong young man active in church, always ready to help with relief efforts. Old local newspaper photos showed Thompson in greasy work clothes, beaming arm around friends from town. Because of this image, no one was surprised when Thompson joined Sofia's 2001 search team. He was there most days, trudging through red dust fields, scouring bushes with others. At the prayer vigil in the church the first week after Sofia's disappearance, Thompson lit a candle, standing right behind her parents. Some recalled him bringing coffee to rescue workers, patting Hernandez relatives on the shoulder. No one imagined the friendly mechanic could be linked to a crime. But when investigators now asked Mesa Springs residents to recall those days, new pieces surfaced. A friend of Sofia's remembered Thompson lingering outside the grocery store where she worked not to shop but to chat idly. Another witness recalled Thompson at a gathering, saying offhandedly, "The Hernandez girl's getting prettier, must have lots of guys after her." At the time, no one thought twice, dismissing it as a joke. In hindsight, those small details took on a disturbing hue. There was more. Thompson often stopped by the Hernandez house, offering to check Miguel's truck or fix Carmen's stuck door. People once saw it as kindness. Now with the DNA evidence, those actions chilled many. Thompson had more chances to be near Sofia than anyone else. A question loomed. Why didn't police dig deeper into Thompson in 2001? In old files, his name appeared briefly as a volunteer, not a suspect. Paul Mitchell, the veteran cold case investigator, admitted in a meeting maybe Thompson was clever, wearing the mask of a model citizen when he volunteered, brought food, shared grief. No one thought to look closer, and police were swamped with other leads. The ex-boyfriend, co-workers, all kinds of rumors. Thompson faded into the background as a nobody. Ana Rodriguez stared at the 2001 photo of Thompson. Youthful, eyes direct, smiling kindly, she said softly. Sometimes the one in the crowd holding the victim's family's hand hides the darkest secret. Her words silenced the room. In town, rumors stirred, residents split. Some refused to believe kind Marcus could be a killer. Others recalled his odd stares at Sofia, his unexpected appearances at her workplace. Memories buried for 2 decades were unearthed, and the good neighbor image began to crack. For the cold case team, there was no doubt Thompson was the key. But to turn suspicion into courtroom evidence, they needed more than DNA. Anna knew a long battle lay ahead. Not just who, but why and how. And it all started with a mechanic Mesa Springs once called Kind. News of the DNA match to Marcus Thompson spread across Arizona within hours. Major Phoenix and Tucson papers plus national TV ran sensational headlines. Shock suspect in 21-year case, neighbor who joined search becomes prime suspect in Mesa Springs. The quiet atmosphere shattered with chatter, ringing phones, and crowds at the town's only coffee shop. Marcus Thompson's name, once synonymous with kindness, was now tied to a brutal crime. Thompson's old neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Garcia, trembled when reporters asked, "Marcus, impossible. That boy grew up here. I saw him help his grandpa fix horse stalls, brought us firewood in winter 2000. Always polite, always smiling." Others shook their heads in disbelief, especially those Thompson had helped. The image of the young mechanic toting a toolbox to fix neighbors' cars clashed with the idea of him in Sofia's truck that fateful night, a contrast that shook the community. But anger also surged. Some women, silent for 2 decades, began to speak. A former co-worker of Sofia's at the grocery store said Thompson often stopped by standing too close, making uncomfortable jokes. When she told the manager, they laughed it off, saying, "Marcus is harmless." Another woman, now in her 30s, recalled being followed home by Thompson as a teen, but her parents dismissed it, saying, "Marcus is kind. Everyone knows that." Now, those stories formed a chilling pattern, suggesting Thompson hid a darker side behind his neighborly facade. At church meetings, the community split. Some insisted Thompson was innocent, that the DNA was a coincidence or an unexplained accident. They cited his clean record, his tireless search for Sofia, arguing a guilty man wouldn't dare stand among the grieving. But others, haunted by his cold stares or cryptic remarks, were furious. It's time to face the truth. DNA doesn't lie. We've turned a blind eye too long. On social media, debates erupted. One wrote, "I grew up with Marcus. I don't believe he did it." Below, another countered, "He harassed me at 15 and no one believed me." Believe me now, these posts fueled tension but revealed a terrifying truth. Mesa Springs may have knowingly or not sheltered a predator in its midst. Ana Rodriguez and the cold case team watched from afar, noting every new statement. She knew the community's upheaval was unearthing suppressed memories. The more people spoke, the clearer Thompson's portrait became. But Ana also knew that to end 21 years of silence, they needed more than stories. They needed legal evidence. As Mesa Springs split between those clinging to the kind neighbor memory and those demanding justice for Sofia, darkness enveloped the town again, heavy and conflicted. At 5 a.m. one early April morning, with Mesa Springs' sky still dark and desert mist lingering, Thompson's quiet street lit up with flashing red and blue lights. Short, sharp police sirens broke the usual calm. Police cars blocked both ends of the road, headlights piercing the low brick house where Thompson had lived for over a decade. A megaphone blared, "Police, open the door now." The commanding shout woke the neighborhood. Windows lit up. Residents in robes stumbled onto porches. Some barefoot, squinting at the blinding lights. A few teens held phones filming the rare scene in the sleepy town. whispers spread. What's going on? It's Marcus's house. My God, are they arresting him? Thompson's door swung open after urgent knocks. He appeared in wrinkled grey pajamas, hair disheveled, face haggard, but eyes coldly calm. 3 officers rushed in, barking, "Marcus Thompson, you're under arrest for first-degree murder in the death of Sofia Hernandez in 2001. Thompson didn't argue or resist, standing frozen for a moment like stone as cold handcuffs clicked on his wrists. He looked around, scanning the neighbors gathered outside, his blank stare chilling many. Mrs. Garcia, a longtime neighbor, huddled by her porch post, trembling, "No way, Marcus." Across the street, a young man filmed, muttering, "I'm posting this. All of Arizona will see." A boy clung to his mother, asking naively, "Mom, what did Uncle Marcus do wrong?" She didn't answer, pulling him close, eyes fixed on the man being led away. Thompson was escorted to the car in total silence. He didn't resist or bow his head. His hardened face showed no emotion, eyes staring straight as if detached from the crowd. The image clashed starkly with memories of the cheerful mechanic who once greeted everyone as the police car door slammed shut. Some women cried out, one shouting, "Monster," while another trembled, "What if he's innocent?" That morning, the sheriff's office held an emergency press conference. Before dozens of cameras and microphones, Detective Ana Rodriguez appeared, face stern. She stated firmly, "We've arrested Marcus Thompson, 47, of Mesa Springs, charged with murdering Sofia Hernandez in 2001. DNA evidence from the recovered pickup and related items confirms his involvement. This is a major step toward justice in a 21-year case." The news swept Arizona. TV replayed civilian footage of the arrest. Flashing lights. Thompson escorted in the misty dawn. Neighbors crowding the sidewalk. Headlines blared. Mesa Springs shocked. Kind neighbor named murder suspect. Sofia's cold case. Suspect emerges. After 21 years in town, the divide deepened. Some sighed in relief, seeing it as proof justice finally spoke. They trusted the DNA. Others doubted, insisting Thompson couldn't be the killer, that something remained unclear. Arguments flared at the coffee shop, market, even church services. But whether they believed or not, all knew Mesa Springs would never be the same. That noon, as TV screen showed Thompson handcuffed, leaving his brick house, Carmen Hernandez nearly collapsed. She clutched her face, sobs choking her while Miguel sat rigid beside her. Eyes red, hands gripping the remote, as if to crush it. 21 years waiting to see someone held for their daughter's death. Yet the moment brought no full relief, only another knife to their hearts. Seeing Thompson led to the police car stunned them more than any news. He wasn't a stranger, but someone who'd sat in their home, shared their dinner, laughed like a friend. In Miguel's memory, winter 2000 came back vividly. Their old truck broke down at the Mesa Springs market and he fumbled, unsure how to fix it. Thompson approached, sleeves rolled up, smiling warmly. "Let me help." In half an hour, he got the truck running. That evening, to thank him, the Hernandezes invited the young mechanic for dinner. They sat around a small wooden table, eating Carmen's fresh enchiladas, Sofia across from them, chatting about school. Thompson laughed heartily, praised the food, promised to check the truck's engine later. That scene, once a symbol of small-town kindness, now turned bitter, making Miguel struggle to breathe. Carmen recalled Thompson's many visits, borrowing tools or bringing church-baked sweets. She saw him as a friendly neighbor, never suspecting his gaze lingered on Sofia too long. Now, with DNA pointing to him, she trembled. He was right in front of us. So many times and we saw nothing. The Hernandez family's emotions tangled, chaotic. They felt relief at having a name, a face for their daughter's loss. Tonight, they'd light candles, believing justice neared. But the pain deepened, knowing the killer wasn't a highway stranger, but someone they trusted, welcomed into their home. That betrayal turned their wound into an abyss. Miguel stepped onto the porch, staring at the lights still on in daylight, voice. "If I hadn't invited him to stay, if I'd been more cautious, maybe." Carmen embraced him, tears soaking his shirt. "No, it's not our fault. We couldn't know. Sofia couldn't know." But despite her words, a heavy knock echoed in her heart. Their kindness had unwittingly opened the door to darkness. That evening, as news replayed Thompson in a cell, hair must face coldly blank, the Hernandez house fell silent. Carmen placed Sofia's photo on a small altar, lighting a white candle. The flame flickered, illuminating the 19-year-old's bright smile. "Frozen forever," she whispered. "My girl, we finally know, but I wish that man had never crossed our doorstep." In that stillness, both understood their journey wasn't over. The arrest was just the start. Ahead lay a trial, tough questions: why Thompson did it, what happened that fateful night, and whether justice would truly be served. But after 21 years, they no longer lived in blind fog. Though the pain cut deeper than ever, a small hope warmed their hearts. Sofia's soul was finally being heard. On the first trial day, Navajo County Courthouse was packed. Reporters lined up at dawn. Cameras and microphones aimed at the main entrance where police escorted Marcus Thompson in an orange jumpsuit, wrists cuffed but head high, face as cold as the day of his arrest. Mesa Springs held its breath in that room where after 21 years the truth might be revealed. The Hernandez family sat in the front row, Carmen trembling, clutching Miguel's hand, eyes red but resolute. A small photo of Sofia alive sat before them, a reminder that the 19-year-old was present in this courtroom in another form. The prosecutor stood, voice echoing through the old wooden room. He presented the indictment: Marcus Thompson, charged with first-degree murder of Sofia Hernandez, based on DNA from the red pickup recovered from the canal in 2022. He pointed to a large screen showing the blood-stained fabric, broken necklace, and blood traces from the truck's floor. "This is the voice of truth," he declared loudly. Sofia's DNA and the defendant Thompson's DNA coexisted in the truck where she vanished. There's no denying his presence that night. His words stirred the room, whispers rising until the judge's gavel demanded order. On the other side, Thompson's defense attorney, a seasoned middle-aged man, stood calmly, refuting, "Your Honor, no direct witness saw Marcus Thompson with Sofia that night. DNA could be there for many reasons. They were neighbors, interacted, shared meals. Finding genetic traces doesn't mean murder." He turned to the jury. "Firm, you must remember justice hinges on reasonable doubt. If doubt remains, you cannot convict." This argument frustrated some, but planted hesitation in some jurors' minds. The prosecutor countered, playing testimony videos from women Thompson harassed in the past. One said he followed her home at 15. Another recalled his odd stares at Sofia in the grocery store. "This isn't coincidence," the prosecutor stressed, "but a pattern of predatory behavior." The defense attorney shot back. "These stories weren't formally reported, have no records, and rely on faded memories." After over 2 decades, the courtroom air thickened. The Hernandez family sat still, their eyes a storm of emotions. Carmen wiped tears repeatedly while Miguel stared at Thompson, his gaze burning with the question, "Why?" Thompson remained motionless, shoulders straight, no frown, no sweat, as if the trial didn't concern him. His coldness fueled community outrage. In the back rows, Mesa Springs residents crammed in watching. Some shook their heads, unable to believe. Kind Marcus sat in the defendant's chair. Others whispered, "DNA doesn't lie. He can't deny it." Many eyes fixed on the jury, urging them to carry Sofia's justice. The judge closed the first day with a warning. "This is a complex case tied to a community's collective memory. But you must remember truth is decided by evidence and law alone." The gavel's heavy thud echoed in everyone's hearts. As Thompson was escorted out, still in orange, camera flashes erupted from reporters. The Hernandez family stood quietly, embracing tightly. They didn't know how long the trial would last or what the verdict would be, but for the first time in 21 years, they saw the killer face justice. Deep down, despite the tension and pain, a small belief sparked. The truth of that fateful 2001 night would finally be spoken right here. As the trial concluded under the wary gazes of the judge, prosecutor, defense attorney, and the Mesa Springs residents packed into the public benches, the Hernandez family returned to their small house on the town's edge. The porch light, never extinguished for 21 years, glowed once more as a symbol. But this time, it wasn't the fragile flame of blind hope. It became a beacon of truth. They had finally found answers, however painful. Sofia's remains were laid to rest in a small cemetery south of Mesa Springs, where willow trees cast shadows over the arid ground. The belated funeral unfolded in silence, with only the desert wind whistling through the stones. Hundreds of townsfolk attended, placing white flowers on the grave, their eyes blurred with tears. Sofia's parents sat together, trembling hands resting on the headstone bearing their daughter's name. Carmen whispered, "Our girl has come home." While Miguel bowed his head, a single tear falling silently onto the dry earth, sinking into the sand like a final rite to close 21 years of waiting. The Mesa Springs community, once divided by doubt and blind faith, learned an unforgettable lesson. Justice may come late, but it never vanishes. Those who insisted Thompson was innocent now faced the undeniable truth of DNA. Those who stayed silent when harassed by him found the strength to speak out, warning that outward kindness can't always hide inner darkness. Sofia's story wasn't just a personal tragedy, but a reminder to the community. Darkness can lurk for years, but the light of truth will always find a way to shine. In later interviews, Detective Ana Rodriguez emphasized forensic science's role. 2 decades ago, we didn't have today's advanced DNA technology. Without those advancements, without the Hernandez family's persistence and the community's resolve, Sofia Hernandez's name might have stayed buried in a cold case file forever. Her words brought tears, reflecting the journey from a girl lost in a summer night to a dusty file to a sudden clue raising truth from the mud. Arizona newspapers published analyses of the case, calling it proof of faith and perseverance's power. Forensic experts presented findings at national conferences, citing Sofia Hernandez as a prime example of DNA speaking for the dead. Other families with missing loved ones visited Mesa Springs, clutching photos and files, hoping technology and patience would one day bring them answers, too. For the Hernandez family, the pain never faded. Their home still lacked their youngest daughter's laughter. The dining table held an empty seat no one dared take. But deep down they escaped the cruelest torment, not knowing. "The worst thing isn't losing your child," Carmen said in an interview, voice trembling. "It's not knowing where they are, what happened. Now we know and we can let our girl rest." On the first anniversary after the burial, the Hernandez family returned to the cemetery bringing white flowers. They sat by Sofia's grave from morning to night, telling her about the trial, the community, the prayers. As the red sun sank behind the desert mountains, Miguel placed a hand on the headstone, whispering, "We kept our promise, daughter. We didn't give up." Mesa Springs was forever changed. Each July 12th, the town gathered, lighting candles for Sofia Hernandez. They no longer prayed only for the young girl, but reminded each other of unity's strength, the duty to protect one another, and the courage to speak out when something felt wrong. Children growing up in town were taught to stay vigilant, that truth could be hidden, but never buried forever. The Sofia Hernandez case became an Arizona symbol. It appeared in books, criminology classes, and dinner table talks. People called it the Mesa Springs ghost, a ghost finally laid to rest by science, perseverance, and a parent's love for their daughter. At a special community ceremony, Detective Ana Rodriguez spoke to hundreds. "Justice doesn't always come on time, but it comes. We owe Sofia, the Hernandez family, and ourselves the patience to never give up." Prolonged applause mixed with choked sobs echoed through Arizona's arid desert. And in the deep red sunset stretching over Mesa Springs, the story closed with a simple yet resounding note. Arizona will never forget the Sofia Hernandez case. Proof that darkness cannot hide the truth forever. The story of Sofia Hernandez is not just a criminal case resolved after 21 years, but a mirror reflecting many societal issues in America today. First, it underscores the power of modern forensic science. In 2001, police lacked advanced DNA technology, but by 2022, a single blood stain in the pickup was enough to name Marcus Thompson. This shows that investing in science, data, and technology isn't a luxury, but a necessity to bring justice to forgotten victims. Second, the story highlights the pain of women harassed by Thompson, but dismissed until evidence spoke. It's a warning that American society must listen to and value victims' accounts, even without immediate proof. Movements like #MeToo have stressed the importance of speaking out, and Sofia's story proves prolonged silence can shield crimes. Additionally, Mesa Springs is a lesson for small communities. You can't judge someone solely by their kind exterior. Thompson was seen as a model citizen, but he hid a darkness no one wanted to see. Finally, for Sofia's parents, the porch light burning for 21 years symbolized the persistence of love and faith in justice. The lesson is clear. Even if justice arrives late, it can arrive as long as we don't give up. In a society grappling with challenges to trust, fairness, and safety, Sofia's story reminds Americans that truth can never be buried forever. And it's everyone's responsibility not to turn away when someone needs to be heard. Thank you for joining us on this journey to find justice for Sofia. If you found this story meaningful, please subscribe to the channel to stay updated on other cold case stories. See you in the next video where we continue exploring America's unsolved mysteries.